Pack up the shorts and t-shirts. A winter storm is heading our way and temperatures will plunge. How soon we'll see snow in the metro.
Plus, in a race to protect Coloradans against the deadly pandemic.
The good news is that we're beginning to get vaccines, but the bad news is that we're not getting them as quickly as we wanted.
Already slowed by bad weather, the pressure's now on to ramp up the rollout immediately and make sure every neighborhood has access to the life-saving shot.
Also determined to show his true colors, an Arapahoe County man in a legal fight over his wish to fly a pride flag at his home.
If they're not looking to regulate speech, why would they care?
And no more doggy in the window. The heated debate tonight on whether Colorado should ban pet store sales of cats and dogs.
Lounging in the park, walking the dog in a t-shirt, grabbing ice cream and flip-flops. Felt like spring across the Front Range today, but do not expect highs in the 60s again tomorrow. Good evening. Welcome. Denver7 News at 10. I'm Shannon Ogden.
I'm Ann Trujillo, and thank you for joining us on this Denver7 Weather Action Day. And we want to get right to Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson. Mike, the snow's coming, and it will likely be falling by this time tomorrow, right?
Oh, we'll probably have a few inches piled up by this time tomorrow evening. It's amazing we have a weather action day when we had sunshine and 63 today in Denver. It was 74 down at Pueblo. And in Pueblo tonight, they're under a winter storm watch for tomorrow night and early Thursday. The Denver area's already dropped down to 27 as the winds have shifted now, coming in out of the north-northeast. So the colder air is coming in behind a front that is going to push southward. You can see the weather advisories and winter storm watches all the way from just south of Denver, southeast Aurora, Douglas County, Parker, Castle Rock, all the way down to the New Mexico border. That's the front that's just moved through the area. Behind it comes an upper air disturbance that's going to bring the snow in later on tomorrow. So weather headlines, the warm, dry weather is over. Snow and colder coming in starting tomorrow about mid-afternoon. It's going to be a slick drive for your Thursday morning commute, and more snow likely this weekend. I'll tally up the totals you can expect in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you. An encouraging sign in the battle to contain the coronavirus. Jefferson County says 70% of its population is 70 and older now vaccinated.
It is the first county to report hitting that state target 5 days ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, disappointing news for Clear Creek County. Health staff there says it received no vaccine delivery this week after winter storms delayed shipments. So that means it's pushing tomorrow's vaccine appointments back to next Wednesday. Now, state health officials expect deliveries will catch up by the end of tomorrow and will send the 100 delayed doses to Clear Creek.
And despite the recent weather-related delays, vaccine production will ramp up in the coming weeks.
And as Denver7 CB Cotton reports, drug makers are under intense scrutiny to deliver on their promises.
Vaccine shipments provide protection and peace of mind for those receiving shots and those administering them.
If we tell a patient, hey, we can get you in 2 weeks from now, we know we're going to have that vaccine.
That certainty made possible by additional vaccine shipments from the federal government to Salute Family Health this week. It's part of the newly launched Health Center COVID-19 vaccine program that allows the feds to send vaccines directly to health centers on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we received our shipment today, and it's 5,600 doses.
John Santa-Steven, Salute CEO, says the additional doses mean one thing.
We're going to be vaccinating a lot of individuals here in the next 10 days.
But there's still a lot of people that want the vaccine who can't get it. And Colorado Democratic Representative Diana DeGette says it comes down to supply.
The most pressing challenge that we have right now is the lack of supply of vaccine doses.
That deficit prompting DeGette to lead Tuesday's House subcommittee hearing to find out where vaccine manufacturers stand on production.
When I asked them why they didn't meet those doses, they didn't have really that very good of an answer. They said, well, we had supply chain issues.
But during Thursday's hearing, both Pfizer and Moderna said those problems were resolved and that production should be ramping up. And by summertime, they expect to have delivered 300 million doses each. And Johnson & Johnson said it'll hold up its deal of 100 million.
Today, their testimony seemed to indicate that they are going to have the doses that we've paid for as the government, that they've promised to us.
And if those pledges are fulfilled, DeGette says the Biden administration is ready with rollout ideas.
And once it gets to the states, then they need to have enough people who are qualified to administer the vaccine. So they're talking about bringing back retired doctors and nurses.
DeGette says the planning is necessary because companies are not only making vaccines, they're making promises.
We have to keep up that vigilance because we are nowhere close to having the herd immunity that we're going to need to have.
CB Cotton, Denver 7.
And Walmart is planning a community vaccine event at one of its Aurora stores on Friday. Vaccinations will be done in the Garden Center at the store on Tower Road. So if you're 65 and older, you can book an appointment online. And when you go to get the shot, staff will then also sign you up for your second dose.
Well, people are not going to the regular doctor's appointments because of the pandemic. It's going to cost us dearly. A recent study in the Journal of the National Medical Association shows 43% of Americans now have missed preventative care appointments during the pandemic. And listen to this, cancer screenings have declined by 2/3. As a result, according to a UK study published in The Lancet, breast cancer deaths expected to increase 8%, lung cancer deaths 5%, colorectal cancer deaths 15%, all within 5 years of diagnosis. So today, I called Swedish Medical about this. They say they're seeing the same thing. They are worried, but they want to reassure you.
It's even better in the last year as we have really tightened up infection control procedures, masking, screening patients for acute symptoms. This is a very safe time to come in and get your preventative visit, get caught up in all the vaccines and your age-appropriate cancer screening and lab work.
All right, there you go. So go ahead and schedule that doctor's appointment.
Leaders in Aurora are promising change in the wake of the independent investigation into Elijah McClain's death. Today, City Manager Jim Twomley said it's time to set up an independent monitor to ensure police transparency and accountability. And Police Chief VANESSA Wilson also apologized today, saying her police force will do better. Although she wasn't the chief at the time of Elijah McClain's death, she says she supports the idea of an independent monitor and says she's also ready to change the way officers respond to calls.
Giving officers that opportunity to take a moment to slow things down, to watch what they see happening and not to solely rely on what a caller says, and to obviously always use de-escalation techniques, as well as the 911 callers when they first receive that call to be asking specific questions of why this person is suspicious.
Aurora's fire chief also spoke today about the use of ketamine. He says the city's temporary ban on the sedative will stay in place for at least the next 30 days. He also said he and Chief Wilson will come up with clear policies when officers and paramedics are caring for someone.
Tonight, new developments in the investigation of that jet engine failure that scattered debris across a Broomfield neighborhood. The FAA is ordering fan blade inspections for all Boeing jets with this type of engine before they get back in the air. Investigators say first examinations of that damaged plane showed signs of metal fatigue on a fan blade. And this will affect about 125 jets globally.
An Arapahoe County man says he was told he couldn't have a pride flag outside his home. And he says that violates his constitutional rights, and he is suing the Metro District that told him to take it down.
As Denver7's Sloan Dickey reports, this is just the most recent case in Colorado where people feel their neighborhood association is trampling on their right to free expression.
It's your standard pride flag, standard size.
It's a statement, at least Mark Pendry thought, of unity.
Didn't really think of it as a political statement. It was just more of a, this represents my family, and we thought, what's better than that?
And his neighborhood couldn't be more welcoming.
We fly an American flag from time to time. We fly a Colorado flag from time to time.
But it's not his neighbors who see this flag as a problem.
Had full support, had messages from them saying, hey, love your flag, that's awesome. This was the Metro District that didn't think so.
In August, he posted this photo of his house to a Facebook group discussion about flags. The very next day, the Arapahoe County Whispering Pines Metro District showed up at his house.
Sent me a letter about my flags that I hadn't sought approval for it.
The letter was dropped off the next day saying he needed approval to fly the flag, approval that had not been granted. And the potential consequences include major fines or even a lien on your house.
They are selectively choosing what speech is acceptable to them and what's not.
Recently, there have been numerous instances of neighborhood groups banning flags.
We believe in being the change that we want to see.
Denver7 shared this story of a Littleton woman required by her HOA to take down her flag supporting Black Lives Matter. But the Whispering Pines Metro District is not an HOA. It's a public neighborhood committee.
We don't pay HOA dues. It's all part of the property taxes. It's that governmental entity.
An entity that Pendry says is responsible to the taxpayers.
The Metro District is clearly a unit of government, and so the First Amendment does apply and these rules violate the Constitution.
And the Colorado ACLU agrees. They've now filed a lawsuit on behalf of Pendry. They believe the Metro District's rule isn't just arbitrary, but in violation of Pendry's constitutional rights. We reached out to the executive director of Whispering Pines for comment and have not heard back.
Homeowners buy a house and probably don't even realize that they are in essence signing away their right to free expression.
It's a flag expressing unity, and Pendry hopes the message will be received.
Isn't that something that we kind of need right now?
Sloan Dickey, Denver7.
Colorado state lawmakers are considering a bill that would ban new pet stores from selling cats and dogs. Only the 9 existing stores in our state would be allowed to do so. It would also require breeder information to be provided up front. Bill sponsors say it would boost transparency and protection for buyers, and critics warn, though, it could lead to a rise in unregulated online sellers.
I think they're ripping us off.
Trust breaks down for some Coloradans who bought an extended car warranty.
The advertisements for them are false.
Sold on star-studded commercials,
your boy Ice-T.
Things quickly turn sour for these CarShield customers.
It makes us angry to see how they're being used.
Person's trapped, vehicle on the side of the road.
Golfing legend Tiger Woods escapes with his life after a rollover crash in California. And it could be a long road to recovery with serious injuries to both his legs.